And it is Sunday morning here on Elevation 5080 Sports and Lifestyle. That means it is time for the Wheelhouse. Get you to church this morning. And we are everywhere. If you are actually on your way to church, you can listen to us live right now on Facebook Live. On is it X Live now? X gonna give it to you? Is that what we're officially?
X is giving it to us.
Yeah, so X is gonna
We're
give
getting
it, formerly known as Twitter. You can catch us on there as well, streaming live on YouTube as well. Same as the Twitter handle at 5280 Sports Radio. You can catch us on the Instagram as well at Elevation 5280 Radio. And our home base, e5280sports.com. You can go there as well. So we are everywhere and we will be everywhere. And we have a lot to get to this morning. We had a couple of fights yesterday. One you probably knew about, and that was Jake Paul and Nate Diaz. We'll get into that. I have a lot of questions about how fights are scored and how they are judged and how you win by nobody falling down. But somebody did fall down on the baseball field. We did have a TKO in Cleveland. If you missed that, we have the audio for that one as well, and also the very disappointing showing for the U.S. women's national team in the World Cup. I have a lot of questions about finishing a game in a 0-0 tie as well. Soccer, I will never understand. And the latest, Matt, NFL Hall of Fame inductions went down yesterday as well, which always brings up the debate, do rings matter? And Matt, how are you this morning?
I'm doing pretty freaking good this morning. I had a good night's sleep. I got up, I got coffee going. I had a nice muffin today, Mike. Good muffin. So I'm ready to roll. And I went to bed. I fell asleep early, and then I woke up and I watched the rest of SummerSlam. I watched the Diaz Paul fight, and there were some other fights going on. So I was up late, but I still got good sleep. I didn't watch that debacle of the women's soccer. I'm sure we'll get into. So I don't really know what the hell's going on there. I'm sure we'll dive all into it and try to sift through the crap that is there. But other than that, I'm rolling. How are you doing? How are you doing today?
Not bad. I threw $10 down on the women's national game. I guess early this morning. It started at 3 a.m. Mountain Time.
Yeah.
And I was like, I haven't put any sports bets down since basketball, Matt. And now that football's on the horizon, we will see my bank account go down once again. So we will do that. But I threw $10 down. I had no idea what was going on. I know Alex Morgan hadn't scored this entire tournament. So I was like, there was a lot of same game parlays that I thought about doing. So I did like another 10-legger, Matt, and of course did not come to fruition as the women's national team went down this morning. 0-0 somehow, but Sweden won on penalties, 5-4. Not sure how that is. I don't watch enough soccer or do enough, all reaction, zero research. So we're just reacting off the score, which is confusing to me. 0-0, but Sweden won 5-4 on penalties. And if you are a soccer enthusiast, please, we will soon be having a soccer writer, Matt, on. Not on, but a soccer writer contributing to the website e5280sports.com. So maybe they will have better information on how soccer games are scored. But either way, Matt, it seemed like a disappointing showing in the World Cup from the outset. I don't know if you watched any games or paid attention to anything, but this round or this year, I guess, just seemed a little off for the women's team.
Yeah, I didn't watch it at all this year, and this was the first year that I absolutely did not care. And I mean, you could look at it one way or the other, and I mean, I'm not going to go down a big road here, but I was turned off by the women's soccer team. I was not interested in what happens on the soccer field with that team. And I mean, watching it, you could tell that they weren't interested in what happens on the field either. This wasn't a a good showing. I don't even know if they scored any goals in this whole thing, maybe 1 or 2. I'm not 100% sure, but I was looking at something and reading some stuff, and I've checked in on them. They just have not looked good, and there's people that know soccer are blaming coaches or the coach that they brought in here. They're saying that he was not the right person. He didn't do so. They're blaming a lot of the coach right now, but I mean, this team did not look as dominant or inspired as the teams that came before it, and a lot of them. I mean, there was when they just beat who was the team that they beat like at the end, or they just barely made it, and they were running around doing the heart things. They were making a big deal about it, and they even received some backlash from some former players in that sense too, just recently in their last win. So the team, and I don't know if you want to throw all the controversy that's been surrounded by this team into what happened on the field, or on the pitch, I should say. But you could definitely do that, and I think there is something to that. But as far as it just there was not a good there's not a good aura around this team, and from what I could tell or what I could gather right off the bat, I didn't see anything good. These they did not look locked in. They did not look like they were playing together. They looked like they were just going to walk through these first couple stages, and they were going to walk right into a being in the position to win again. So I guess this is humble pie. I don't know if this is one of those things. I don't know how many of these girls or these women are going to come back and play for this team the next time this comes around. So it'll be interesting to see what women's U.S. women's soccer looks like in the next World Cup.
Yeah, look, all politics aside, I don't want to get into that side of it, but I think I think this was Alex Morgan's last go around, and I think it probably was Megan Rapinoe's last. I want to say last go around at the World Cup. So yeah, I mean, this just had different vibes to it, man. And again, I didn't watch every game. Obviously, they're on the other side of the earth, so you're playing at 3 a.m. here, so that it's just weird hours and stuff like that. Where were they? Were they in not
Was it
Australia, but New Zealand or something like? I think it was New
something like
Zealand.
that? Yeah.
Yeah, so they are a complete flip side of planet Earth from us. So it was just at weird times, weird hours, and stuff like that. But what I did see, it just didn't feel the same. A couple years ago, like you mentioned, when I think when they beat England or something like that, you see Alex Morgan doing acting like she's drinking the tea with her pinky out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Those were the fun teams, but this team just did not seem the chemistry didn't seem there, even though a lot of these women have played together. I want to say I forgot her name, and again, zero research, all reaction here. I forgot her name, but she had like 4 goals herself, and I want to say she's very young. She's like the youngest women's player that they had this year. So, I mean, yeah, it's just something seemed off, and like you said, the coach, that whole coaching controversy seemed off, and so when you don't have the right person at the top, Matt, it kind of trickles down. So we'll see what this looks like again in 4 years, as all these women kind of go back to their collective, I guess, MLS or what have you, soccer teams in the meantime. But yeah, very disappointing showing. Of course, the one time I throw $10 down on a 10, I would have walked away with $1,500 if those legs would have hit, but not even close, Matt. Not even close.
Yeah, that's the way the cookie crumbles, I guess. Yeah, it's really going to be interesting. I am going to be paying attention to see what this team looks like in the next 4 years. You mentioned the youth that's there, and as my computer tries to yell at me, I don't know why it does that. The youth that's there, and I just think it needs a facelift, a revamping from top to bottom. There's pieces there. There's the right kind of group is there, but in my opinion, I feel like you need to get these old dogs out of there. You need to get those old the players that, I mean, it's time for that. It's unfortunate that they had to go out like this, but it is what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens in 4 years time. And even women like Alex Morgan, do they go back to to their respective MLS teams and stuff like that, or is it just done with women's World Cup activity? So we will see what happens 4 years from now. Matt, yesterday, some new members were enshrined in Canton, Ohio. One of them that we know kind of well, and that was DeMarcus Ware. A lot of people already asking, is he going to go in as a Bronco or as a Cowboy? Obviously, well known for his many years, 12 years with the Dallas Cowboys. Had to come to Denver to win I almost said World Cup, to win a Super Bowl. And that Super Bowl 50 team, that marvelous defense, that record-breaking defense was just swarming Cam Newton and the little kitty cats in Super Bowl 50. And Von Miller was in attendance, so that was cool to see Von show up for DeMarcus. Where I think Michael Strahan introduced him, or what do they say? Enshrined him, or what do they say when you have somebody like? Basketball has somebody, sit there with you.
Yeah, I know what it,
Yeah.
I want to say. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, so Michael Strahan
Induct him.
inducted. I don't know.
Is that what that is?
I guess so. So Michael Strahan put on DeMarcus Ware's jacket for him, and then, but in football it's weird. It's not like baseball where you're wearing a hat, Matt, and you kind of have to put a team on the hat. You don't have to. I think there was one recently in baseball where he didn't put a team on his hat because he wanted to go in, as just a neutral guy. He didn't want to represent one team that he played for, which is kind of cool. But football, yeah, you're not wearing a hat, you're not wearing a jersey. It's just your bust. You don't really go in. And when they're talking, when they're giving their speech, they have however many teams logo on the screen behind them. So you kind of go in as every team, because if you were on social media yesterday, obviously the Cowboys are sharing stuff, the Broncos are sharing stuff. So it's just a collective team effort when it comes to guys going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Joe Thomas, longtime Cleveland Brown, goes in. Great offensive lineman goes in. Zach Thomas, the longtime Miami Dolphins linebacker, gets in as well. So this always brings up the debate, Matt. Do rings matter? And I saw Jeff Teague, who's been on almost everybody's podcast lately. He's just everywhere. He's more everywhere now than he was when he was actually playing. He said, quote, "Rings don't matter to me. When I go to the park, I see little kids playing like Harden. I don't really see kids playing like D Wade." And everyone wants to shoot. Everyone wants to shoot. Today's game is a little bit different. Everyone wants to shoot like Harden. They're really, playing pickup at the rec, Matt, or playing in a men's league. Everyone's shooting the ball, Matt. Look, and nobody plays down low anymore. And that's the only game I have, Matt, is playing down low. If I had a shot, maybe it'd be things would be a little different. I have a little mid range, from the elbow, but that's about it. And I get it. People want to shoot like Harden. Kids want to shoot like Harden. Not D Wade. They call him Flash for a reason, man. He just flew right by you, got to the basket, and end of story.
Yeah.
But Zach Thomas, Joe Thomas, they didn't have rings. Look, you played 15 years for the Cleveland Browns, Matt. You're not winning a ring. Let's face it.
No.
I mean, so this brings up, first of all, your reaction on the guys who got in yesterday, and then second part, do rings matter? Because in football, I don't know. This is where the debate comes up, because Joe Thomas was an excellent offensive lineman. He didn't miss any games. He didn't take games off. And he played his entire career for the Cleveland Browns, and now you're in the Hall of Fame. So that always brings up the debate. Do rings matter?
I think they do matter if you get thrown into that category of GOAT, the greatest of all time, like the quarterbacks. That's why if Dan Marino had a ring or two, you could look at him as being the GOAT because of what he did on the football field, and then you add the only thing he's missing is those rings. So I do think in that conversation, if you're going to have that conversation about who's the GOAT left tackle, who's the GOAT center, if you want to go down that road, I think it's rings kind of do matter. But you could make the conversation make the argument, I should say, and have the conversation around, does it matter more if a quarterback has a ring, or that doesn't matter at all that if an offensive lineman has a ring? Because as an offensive lineman, you're a big part of that foundation, but are you the one that gets them over the hump? So should you be saddled with, hey, well, he doesn't have any rings? Well, is it his fault because everybody else around him sucked? I mean, you could look at it that way from Joe Thomas's perspective, but I think it's subjective. It really is subjective on the ring discussion. I don't think it's overall if you have a ring or if you don't have a ring. Does that matter? It's like the quarterbacks. Yeah, I can definitely see that. If you don't have a ring, it matters. But an offensive lineman like Joe Thomas, when he's just doing his damnedest to keep everything going and and stay healthy and go out there and play football to give his team a chance. But then you have who's the quarterbacks that he had? We can't. I mean, I'm sure we can name them, but they're garbage, right? He's had Johnny Manziel.
Pretty sure Tim Couch was one of them.
I was just gonna say Tim Couch. Like when you say you have Tim Couch, you have. I mean, I can picture them in my head, but it's hard. But it's just like, how can you blame that guy or put it on that guy? Hey, well, you didn't have a ring, so you don't deserve it. So in that sense, I can see it's not totally his fault that he doesn't have a ring. But at the quarterback position, when you're the one that takes that, you could look at it. So yeah, I think having a ring is subjective, and it's interesting to see those conversations and to hear those conversations. But yeah, I think it could be subjective, and then like with what was the last question? What was the other one about the Hall of Fame?
What was your overall impressions of the guys who got in? Also, Darrelle Revis, Rondé Barber, add those guys in there as well.
And then you look at those guys, and overall who got in. I think it was they're all deserving. It sounds like a big defensive year when I was looking at it and watched. And then the DeMarcus Ware, does he go in as a Bronco, or it's obviously a Cowboy? Because how many years did he spend here? A year and a half, 2 seasons, maybe?
It was 2 seasons. I think
2
it was
seasons.
I think it was almost 3. I think it was 3
because
he played the year before they won, the year they won, and the year after.
And the year after, right?
3 seasons.
So you could look at it and say, what was his most impactful time? And that was with the Denver Broncos, and be like, yeah, you could throw him in there and make it Bronco. But he was a Cowboy. It just took him to go to a different, because the Cowboys don't win championships unless you have Jimmy Johnson, Troy Aikman, or Emmitt Smith on the team. I don't count Barry Switzer because he took over that team. It's not, I mean, you could whatever. But anyway, the Cowboys they're not a championship squad. They're not a championship team. They could be America's team, but they're not a championship team. So if I'm DeMarcus Ware, I'd love it if I would be thrown in there as a Denver Bronco. Of course, you're not going to forget your time as a Cowboy, but that was pretty interesting. But yeah, as far as the clash this year, outside of the guys that didn't get in, that should have got in, that we bang the table for every season, like a Randy Gradishar, guys like that we want to get in, that should be in there. I think it was a good year for the defense. I do. And I think going forward, we might start to see these guys trickle in, but I don't know if there's like a time limit where you just get taken off the ballot.
Right. And like you said, going back to the ring discussion, I don't think rings matter when it comes to Hall of Fame. I think it matters. I think it just matters, like you said, for GOAT discussions.
Yeah.
But again, that kind of is flawed too, because Joe Thomas is going to go down as one of the best offensive linemen to ever live, even though he played in Cleveland where he didn't have one championship, So there's all these different sides to it. Basketball, let's face it, their Hall of Fame lets everyone in.
Everybody.
And again, I go back to baseball. It's all about, for Hall of Fame, I think it's about longevity and stats.
Right. I agree.
Because I mean, yeah, sure, if you have a couple rings, that's going to help you. Maybe having a ring or two, Matt, is the deciding factor. Is he a first ballot or his third year on the ballot? Maybe that's the deciding factor. I don't know. And like you said, maybe it's just a GOAT discussion. I don't know where Joe Thomas lands on the all-time offensive lineman. Speaking of which, he just missed Tim Couch, by the way. Tim Couch was the quarterback from 99 to 03. Joe Thomas played from 07 to 17. So here's the list of Joe Thomas's quarterbacks. Colt McCoy. We all know him. Brandon Weeden. We all know him. The 40-year-old
Oklahoma
rookie.
State. Yep.
Brian Hoyer. We all remember him. Like you mentioned, Johnny Manziel, Josh McCown, Cody Kessler, Robert Griffin III. How about that? We
Argent
all
Creek.
forgot that he played there. And last but not least, Deshaun Kaiser. So those are the guys that Joe Thomas blocked for. Now he's in the Hall of Fame.
That just shows you how awful the Cleveland Browns are as a franchise and as a football. Those quarterbacks are garbage. Sure, you could throw Brian Hoyer in there and say he's had longevity. He's a backup quarterback. But other than that, garbage. And how many of those were first round picks, top 5 picks?
Majority of them.
Yeah.
At least 4 of them.
Oh,
wasn't Deshaun Kaiser a top pick?
He was a I don't think I don't think he was like a top 10. I think he was a first rounder, maybe. I feel because he was from Notre Dame, wasn't he? He was a Notre Dame kid. And I know. Well, Johnny Manziel was they traded back in the first round to get him, if I'm not mistaken. Tim Couch was a number 2 pick, wasn't he? Number 1 or 2. And then who Deshaun, he had to have been picked up there high. But that just shows you, God, that just shows you how bad the Browns are. Holy smokes. Kaiser. I don't even know how to spell his name. Deshaun Kaiser. Oh, did you know there was another? There's 2 Deshaun's, because of course we got Deshaun Watson right now. I can't even find him. Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Kaiser. Second round. He was drafted in the second round.
So Deshaun Kaiser, yeah, he was a second round pick, and I was talking the whole time. By the way, my mic was on mute. Josh McCown was a third round pick. Cody Kessler was a third round pick. So maybe they didn't have as many first round picks as we had thought. He missed Tim Couch by a couple of seasons. Tim Couch was the first overall pick, by the way, in 1999.
Number 1. Wow.
Colt McCoy. Where was Colt McCoy? He was a third round pick out of Texas by Cleveland. So a lot of these guys were picked by Cleveland, just didn't turn out well. Brandon Whedon, by the way, was a first round pick, 22nd overall pick.
They traded, yeah. That one was super controversial. I remember that.
And Johnny Manziel was a number 1 pick. So, and he missed Baker. He missed Baker by a couple of seasons, who was a number 1 overall pick as well.
So they've drafted 3 guys at number 1 that have flamed out.
Yeah, crazy. And Joe Thomas blocked for all those guys.
Oh my God! And like, can you just? Oh, that's just awful. And Joe Thomas, did you hear the story? I'm sure you might have caught it about Peyton Manning calling him and telling him to go take a dump on his GM's desk.
Yeah, and I remember Peyton Manning trying to recruit him here to Denver.
I do. I remember that as well.
Yeah, I was just about to say Joe Thomas had plenty opportunities to leave Cleveland, especially towards the end of his years there, and he didn't. He just stayed pat, and I said he played 15 years. He only played 10 seasons, but 10 seasons in Cleveland is like 20 seasons overall somewhere else. So
it's adds double, and like there was a time where he did not miss a game. Like what Joe Thomas, and he was still pretty good in 2015. He was still pretty freaking good.
Yeah, so he had plenty of opportunities to go elsewhere, and he, we always say there is no loyalty in sports. He stayed loyal to Cleveland for God knows why. So good on him, I guess. Rondé Barber, a lifetime career Tampa Bay Buck, won a Super Bowl there way back in the day with John Lynch and the boys. So he has that in his back pocket. Did you know Darrelle Revis has a ring, by the way? You would think he doesn't because he played so many years with the New York Jets.
Right.
And he went to Tampa Bay for a cup of coffee. He actually won, and he also had a cup of coffee with the New England Patriots. But
right.
turns out he won a Super Bowl with the New England Patriots. So in 2014, so he has a ring in his back pocket as well. But we all know him as Revis Island out there in New York for many seasons. And in his speech, I kind of liked what his speech said, and this kind of almost goes back to the ring debate, but not really. He said what Jordan was for Kobe, Prime was for Revis Island, talking about primetime Deion Sanders. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that is cool. That is cool. I would have hoped that there'd be a little bit more push, like with Champ Bailey. Like, hey, Champ helped me out, but maybe Champ didn't have anything to do with him.
Maybe not. They wore the same number. I don't know if that helps.
That's what I was saying. Gosh darn it. That's what I was saying. Yeah.
So good on the new class, the new crop of guys in the Hall of Fame. Have you ever seen like the behind the scenes footage where they show, I forgot the dude's name, all reaction, zero research. The dude's name who goes around and knocks on everyone's doors like they don't know he's coming. Obviously they do because they have cameras inside of the people's houses. But have you seen any of those videos either now or in the past? Those are pretty cool.
Yeah, those are really cool. I enjoy those videos. I do. I have seen a couple of those. But yeah, I always wondered, like, why are they acting all surprised when there's a camera inside? Huh.
I mean, I get it. They know it's coming. Maybe they don't. They know it's coming, but maybe they don't know when. So they hear a knock on the door, like turn the camera on, just in case. Maybe, I don't know.
What if it was like somebody delivering something awkward, like a Grubhub or something? Here's your, I don't know. Anyway.
But yeah, so we have the new class coming in to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and then a couple of the old timers as well. Have they announced the finalists for next year's crop? Because you mentioned Randy Gradishar and Mike Shanahan made it to the final round. I don't know if they were, because they were in that old time group. What do they call it? I don't even remember what they call it, but the old timers,
like the legacy group or something.
Legacy group, yeah. You either have to be unfortunately dead or pretty far removed from being in the game, which is kind of sad. And that's another debate that always comes up. Like, is he a first ballot or is he going to wait 5 years? Like, to me, I mean, this whole first ballot or whatever, how long you're on the ballot, whatever, you're a Hall of Famer or you're not.
Right.
So I love the baseball voting. A lot of people don't like the Baseball Hall of Fame, how it's set up. That's probably my favorite process, Matt, because it's so prestige. There could be years where somebody doesn't get in. You have to get 75% of the vote. So there was only two guys that got in this year, which was Scott Rowland and God knows the other guy. But it was Scott. Who was it? Scott Rowland and God. Again, zero research, all reaction. So
I feel yeah.
But anyway, I like the Baseball Hall of Fame because it's that prestige. You get a lot of people don't like it. I like it, but that's just how it goes, I guess.
I like the prestige part of it too, and it's like there's people that uphold. There's a set of I don't want to call them stats, but like there's boxes that these guys check in order for they have their reasons why they're there. I like that, but at the same time, I think especially in football, and I mean we kind of see it already that there's like I don't know if you want to call it gatekeeping, but there's this semblance of that this person or that person didn't do this or didn't do that, so they're not getting in. And I think if they went that route, even got more prestigious with it, and I think if they had like a committee that rotated every 3 to 4 years or 5 years or whatever it may be, and you had new faces, new people in there, that maybe they could do something like that instead of having all these. Because the way I understand it now, and I could be totally wrong, is that they have these writers and journalists and analysts or whatever, or old school people are a part of the selection process. And if they streamline that process and they changed it every other year, I think that could be interesting because you'd get new faces, but it could create problems too. But yeah, I think that if there's any Hall of Fame that has it right or that they're really close to being right, it's baseball.
So do you like? So obviously football, you it's almost like knockout rounds. It's almost like a bracket. You start with like a round of 12, hypothetically. I don't know what they start at. and you trickle down to 8, and then you trickle down to 4, and that's kind of the final group. Do you like that kind of trickle down effect, or do you like baseball where hey, you get 75% of the vote? Fred McGriff, by the way, was the other guy who got in with Scott Rowland. Do you like that part of it where yeah, you get 75%, you're in, or do you like kind of the bracket type where these guys go head to head, that some get knocked out, you go from 16 to 12 to 8 and then the final 4?
I think I like a mix of that, like if there's a mix of it where you have to get
Because
the
somebody's
one way,
obviously voting for the bracket style, the head to head style. So,
right.
and who votes for football? Is it writers too, or
I thought it was writers. I've always thought it was writers in all of them.
see? I
With
think
all
it
of
should
the
be like you said. They should throw in maybe like I don't know, current players or Hall of Fame players or something like
yeah,
that too.
I think there should be when you get into the Hall of Fame, maybe you get a vote for the Hall of Fame, and then that's what that decides the initial first bracket, and then when it gets to the final four or the finalists, you have to get X amount. There's ways that it could be done, but I just there's some people that aren't in it that like Randy Gradisher. It might be a homer thing. I don't know, but we could go and look at other people that aren't in it that should be in it. But I think there's ways to streamline it and to make it more, I guess, prestigious. But like we mentioned a bunch of times before, the NBA is the worst is the worst of them all, or the basketball, the Naismith basketball, because it's not even the NBA. But I think that if there was a streamline or something like that, we can avoid these, like you said, like Randy Gradishar, and then is on a legacy kind of a deal. He's going to get in eventually, but why does it have to take so freaking long? Why don't they just put him in? Or could they have like a separate wing or separate vote for those players? Like, these are the players that got in here, and these are the players that have been on the legacy, and then they're going to get in now too. I don't know if that diminishes it at all, but it's crazy that we still have to keep saying stuff like that. Randy Gradishar should be in.
Yeah, and I'm trying semifinalists that are announced, and I think they whittled it down. But again, I don't know how far they've gotten. And Randy Gradishar was on that list along with Mike Shanahan. I don't know how Mike Shanahan's not in to begin with.
I don't know either. I like he's like the head, or he's a big part of. You could say that he came from the Walsh tree, the West Coast offense. You can say that he came from all that. Well, all that is kind of gone. Now he has his own tree. He's got his own tree of coaches, and that guy's not even in the Hall of Fame yet. So, yeah, I believe Mike Shanahan. Yeah, I don't. There's nothing you can tell me that, because he's got the Super Bowls, he's got the wins. He didn't have a losing, like, I don't know, I can't remember how many losing seasons that he's had as a coach. I can't remember exactly, but he should be in for sure. Just it's ridiculous.
So some of the players for I guess the regular, I don't know what they're calling it, regular voting, I guess. So some of the regular voting guys that are headlining next year's potential class for the Pro Football Hall of Fame is Julius Peppers, Antonio Gates, Eric Berry, Haloti Nada, Jamal Charles, Brandon Marshall, the wide receiver. So those are just some of the guys that are headlining. Greg Hardy is on this list. Jordy
Oh
Nelson.
God,
Is Jordy Nelson?
he's not Hall of Famer.
Marquette King, huh?
He's not a Hall of Famer.
For whatever reason, Andrew Luck is on this list. So
longevity, I don't know if Andrew Luck. The only person off of that list that you mentioned there was
the first couple. Julius Peppers, Antonio Gates.
Peppers, and Antonio Gates is a lock.
Yeah.
Antonio Gates is a lock.
Julius See, that's Peppers what I mean. When you're throwing out names, locks, like yeah. if you were reading down this list, say I said Julius Peppers, Antonio Gates, Haloti Nada, Joe Thomas, so on and so forth. Like, if I was going down that list, would you even pay attention? Because Joe Thomas is a pretty generic name. Would you be like, Joe Thomas is a lock? Is that fair to say? Would you if I added him in that list?
If you threw Joe Thomas in there, I say he was a lock. But like when you're like Haloti Nada,
he should be. I don't. Lock.
Yeah, because where he played in Baltimore. Where did he go from there?
Let me look.
Did he just stay in Baltimore? Yeah. But you know what? We know like what those first Antonio Gates is an absolute lock.
See,
Absolute
0
lock.
rings. See, so I guess it doesn't matter. Julius Peppers, 0 rings.
Was he on that Carolina
Played
team?
no, he played in a Super Bowl though when they lost to. Remember, Jake Delhomme was their quarterback.
Oh yeah, they lost
Was
to
it the Patriots?
the Patriots. The
Yeah,
Patriots. That was John Fox. That was John Foxy Panthers.
yeah.
Del Homie.
So Julius Peppers was on that team, and then he went to your Packers, my Bears, and so forth.
Yep.
So
Yep. He was good in the
I
Packers.
had when he went to the Bears, because he went to the Bears right after Carolina, so he was still kind of in his prime. And right when he went there, I got a Julius Peppers Bears jersey.
Nice. Nice. I remember I was at the game. The Panthers played the Broncos. I can't remember what year it was, but do you remember that when he ran? I think he ran it back for a touchdown. It was a fumble or an interception, and he ran back for a touchdown. It's on Kyle Orton. I was standing on that. I was on that sideline. Huh?
It's a good old Kyle Orton.
Good old Kyle. I want to say it was Kyle Orton, and he was on that sideline. And I remember watching that man, that big. You remember how big he was?
Oh yeah,
Come
Peppers was a big boy. Yeah,
barreling down the sidelines with just like a freight train. Like there's nobody stopping him. Yeah, I remember how good that dude was. He was a monster.
So Haloti Nata, he was a first-round pick way back in 2006 by Baltimore, 12th overall pick that year. Played in Baltimore from 06 to 14, went to Detroit from 15 to 17, and then his final season was in Philly in 2018. He does have a Super Bowl. He won the Super Bowl, by the way, in the Har Bowl, where the Baltimore Ravens defeated the San Francisco 49ers in Super Bowl. What was that? 40.
That was the
47, right?
Yeah, because the Broncos went the next year. Because the Broncos should have went that year. Yeah. It was because the Broncos went 48 and then 50.
Yeah, that was the year that there was the Raheem the Dream game.
That was the dream game.
Yeah,
Broncos they still could have won it in overtime. They still could have won it in overtime.
Yeah,
they still had time to win it in regular. Yeah, they had plenty of chances.
That Raheem, was it Jacoby Jones who caught that pass?
Jacoby,
that was the ticket in John Elway's head that said, "When Peyton retires, I'm going after Joe Flacco."
Yep. That was he marked it right there.
Yeah.
Right?
And
he marked it right there.
Was that 20? That was Peyton's first year here.
That was Peyton's first year, and it was arguably his best team. Yeah. That was arguably the best team that they had.
Because he won Comeback Player of the Year that year. He won MVP the next year because that was the year they went to a Super Bowl, and the whole Star Wars numbers thing was always yeah.
And then that's that year. That's the year that he remember he was looking like crap, and then that San Diego game because they were still the Chargers back then, and then he just turned it around, and from there he was a monster.
Yeah, they're like, sorry, Brock, we gotta throw the sheriff back in.
Oh baby.
Throw him back in there. So those are Haloti Natas. No, I like saying that name. Haloti Nata.
It's a fun name.
Yeah. So he is one of the headliners in that class for next year. So I'm gonna look up Julius Peppers because he bounced around a little bit, not too much. Carolina, obviously, Chicago, Green Bay, and he went back to Carolina for one season. He was a 3-time first-team All-Pro, 3-time second-team All-Pro. He won Defensive Rookie of the Year, by the way, his first season. 9 Pro Bowls. He's in the NFL's 2000s and 2010s All-Decade team. So he's up there. He has 709 total tackles, 159.5 career sacks, 82 pass deflections, 11 interceptions, which is that's a lot for a defensive lineman, by the way. 52 forced fumbles, and like you said, 6 defensive touchdowns. So he saw the end zone quite a bit. 11 interceptions for a defensive end, Matt. That's a lot.
That tells you that guy can set the edge, and then he can get out there. A lot of drop coverages on him, a lot of those zone dog blitzes, and he's athletic enough to freaking to pick it off. So yeah, him and Antonio Gates locks for next year.
Yeah, and a lot of people forget this, Matt. He was teammates with Jerry Stackhouse on UNC's basketball team, by the way. Do you remember Julius Peppers playing basketball with UNC?
I remember like glimpses of him playing, but I don't remember him being very impactful. But I do recall,
Yeah, I only think he played a season or two, but then
yeah,
he started to focus more on football. But
yeah, he. I do remember a little bit of that. God, Jerry Stackhouse was a great college basketball player.
I just remember seeing like little films and pictures of Stackhouse and Peppers
Yeah,
playing with each other. So, and speaking of, here is Antonio Gates' kind of numbers. He's still with the Chargers in a legend. It says he's a Legends ambassadors position right now. So that's where he is. And so, drafted right out of Kent State, or excuse me, undrafted out of Kent State in 2003. How about that? An
yeah.
undrafted tight end. Played his entire 15-year career with the San Diego / Los Angeles Chargers, People's Republic of California. 3-time first team All Pro, 2-time second team All Pro, 8 Pro Bowls, 955 receptions. I mean, that Phillip Rivers to Antonio Gates connection was
Oh,
something else, Matt. And then you add kind of LaDainian Tomlinson into that mix. They were a pretty hard to stop 3-headed monster for a lot of years, and I thought one of those teams were at least make it to a Super Bowl.
I
They made it. I
know,
think they only made it to one AFC title game.
and they lost to the
I'm
Colts or the
assuming the
Patriots.
Patriots. I'm assuming the
Yeah,
Patriots. Either
I
the
was
Colts or
gonna
the Patriots. Yeah.
either the Colts or the Patriots they lost to. Yeah, I think you can look at that San Diego team, that Chargers team, because they had Schottenheimer as a head coach. And Schottenheimer's nobody's going to look at Schottenheimer and say he's a bad head coach. Maybe he just couldn't get over the hump in that situation. But having those three on your team and that big three on your offense was freaking tremendous. And to think that if it wasn't for the blow up of Peyton Manning and the blow up of Tom Brady, do you think maybe the Chargers might have played in a Super Bowl potentially? Maybe. I don't know. There was still something. There was still snake bit. Whether you want to look at that one game when LT stayed out of the game because his knee was hurting, and then you got Phillip Rivers over there playing on a torn meniscus or a torn ACL, whatever the heck he had torn, he was still playing. You got LT sitting on the bench. I remember that one playoff run. So there was a lot of bad luck, if you want to call it, for the Chargers, but Chargers are always going to Charger, it seems.
And they say, yeah, they always do. They always seem to Charger. And by the way, they lost in the 2008 AFC title game to the New England Patriots. They lost that game 21-12. Yeah, so Phillip Rivers, who should be a Hall of Fame, he should be a lock, right? Is he a lock?
Well, let's look at that. He's got
I mean,
13,
he's got more
13
kids
kids.
than he does playoff wins.
He's
That
got a
should be
that
feeling.
that should count for something, right?
Yeah, he just had another one, didn't he? Just recently.
Yeah. She's his wife's either pregnant or she had enough. How old are they? I'd that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, how old are they? Just
Yeah, that
having all
is
these kids.
crazy. Not only should he have a vasectomy, but someone maybe get tubes tied or just I don't know.
I don't know. There's
Crazy.
there's
I mean,
there's
how much wear and tear can a woman's body go through? That's a lot.
I could go so many ways with this, Mike.
Yeah, it's crazy. Maybe we shouldn't touch that.
Yeah, we should. Oh boy, because I'm trying to think. I got two boys, and we're like, I figure that me and Phillip Rivers, we're about 40. I think he's about like 40s. I
Here
don't
we
know
go,
how old
man.
his
You asked
wife
for it.
is.
We got it. Here is their Phillip Rivers kids' ages. So Haley is 20,
Oh
Caroline
yeah,
is 17, Grace is 16, Gunnar is 14, Sarah is 12, Peter 11, Rebecca 8, Claire 6, Anna 3, and they just had another one.
I mean,
So they just had their 10th kid.
he's just like hitting the reset button over and over again.
So the most years in between is 3. Haley's 20, Caroline's 17, Claire is 6, Anna is 3, and the new one was just born, so 3 years apart. The closest Caroline and Grace are just who knows, but 117, 116. So I mean that could be the difference. That's obviously a year. Gunnar and Sarah 2 years apart. Sarah and Peter 1 year apart. Peter and Rebecca 3 years apart. Rebecca and Claire 2 years apart. Claire and Anna 3 years apart, and then Anna and new baby 3 years apart.
You should be in the Hall of Fame as his wife. We should
Right?
put her in the Hall of Fame.
He should go up there and put a gold jacket on her.
Yes, you should see her bust, because just getting ready for school for that many kids around that like you look at the older ones, like there's like 1 to 2 years apart.
Well, I'm assuming
those
one's
kids.
in college level, right? 20 years old, so you don't have to worry about that one.
Well, let's just go back to when they were younger.
Eliminate that one at least.
Well, you could do it now. Now you can,
Yeah.
but even now, but like getting, and then when Phil was like, all right, I gotta go get ready for football season.
Yeah, gosh bless it.
Gosh dang it. You got these kids, get ready for school, because I'm gonna go get ready for football season. You know, just to leave his wife there to get ready for school.
I mean,
for
and
all
I'm
them
assuming,
kids.
yeah, and I'm assuming as a pro football player, you have some kind of help. You have a nanny, you have a full-time,
Probably.
yeah.
Or
but still.
or they could be one of those families that say, the hell with that stuff. We're gonna do it all on our own. But
Yeah,
I
good-
even
good
though I
luck to you.
highly doubt that, but yeesh, she should be in the Hall of Fame.
Sheesh. I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Doyle rules, but
That is-
Rivers
it is.
rules.
Yeah, they're gonna start their own football team. The Philip Rivers is.
The Rivers is.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a high school coach now, so
Yeah, and then he apparently he's like you got all the kids, cool. I'm gonna go coach now.
Yep.
At least
I'm
take
gonna go
a couple years off, right?
especially if you're going to have another one, especially if you're going, because we all know how this works. You know, one thing has to happen for another thing to happen, and then you have the baby. So he's fully responsible for the majority of all of this, right? So you would think he at some point would take accountability and be like, nah, I'm going to give football a break, and I'm going to help you with all these damn kids.
That's what I mean. So there you go. So 10 kids.
Oh
is
God.
the
Cromartie has 14. And remember when they were on the same team at one point? How many of those, like between them, they had like 24 kids?
Oh man. Let's see.
Oh,
Antonio
geez.
Cromartie kids.
I think he's got 14.
Yeah, Antonio Cromartie has enough kids to field a football team, is what the headline says.
And a couple subs too. I mean, rotation players.
Yeah, you have to have bench players.
Yeah.
So there you go. Hard to move on from how many kids that Philip Rivers has.
It's hard.
And
it's hard for Philip to move on too. He's just keep making them kids. He's just Philip. Just move on.
Yeah, you gotta do something. You gotta do something.
You gotta take a break, bud.
I mean, I guess good on them if they want to keep doing that. That's a big house, by the way, unless you're having bunk beds somewhere.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So I remember I wanted a bunk bed and I didn't even have anybody to share it with.
There you go. Oh boy.
There you go. Well, we had a couple of fights yesterday, Matt. One was a TKO, one wasn't, as we will get to the Paul Diaz fight here in a minute. I want to play this clip for you because it is not only hilarious, and you got to go watch the video. Just YouTube Down Goes Anderson, and it is some of the first videos that show up. So here you go. So this is the Cleveland Guardians and Chicago White Sox game yesterday, Matt. And the White Sox outfielder throws, a seemingly routine ball back in. Jose Ramirez, the runner for the Guardians, slides into second. Tim Anderson, tries to tag him, whatever. He kind of slides right in between Tim Anderson's legs and it was a close play, honestly. Like, if you watch it full speed, you're like, oh, Tim Anderson got him. It was a bang play. I don't know why Jose Ramirez got so mad, to be honest with you. Maybe because he tagged him on the face or on the head or something. But Tim Anderson was in position to guard the base like that. And Jose Ramirez, I guess, I don't even know if they called him out or safe because this whole brawl ensued. Tim Anderson got a couple good licks on Jose Ramirez to start. and Jose Ramirez was kind of being, pushed and pulled away by teammates and White Sox players, just
Yep.
threw a right hook as he was falling back, Matt, connected to Tim Anderson's jaw, and
And he
Tim
went down.
Anderson just goes down, falls asleep, Matt. Tell mama you got knocked the F out because he's and I saw all the memes after, like, he's not going to let this down. He just went to sleep. He didn't go to sleep, but he was confused. He went down.
He went down.
I thought maybe he just lost his balance, but no, he went down because of the punch.
Oh, they caught him. He got caught right on the chin. That's one of those ones where it's like on the button. You just catch him at the right spot,
Yeah.
and it's ding. Yeah, and he went down. And
your teeth hit each other. I mean, it is a bad feeling.
You get that little kind of like you see that little white,
Yeah,
if you
Joe
get caught,
Dirt,
you
he's
see
like,
that little
I'm
white.
seeing all tweet.
I'm seeing all tweet. I didn't understand because I'm right there with you. I watched that play and it looked relatively harmless. The tag, the slide, and everything was. I don't know what he took I don't know what he got mad about, but it was because as a middle infielder, you're taught to put the tag on. Doesn't matter, no matter what. It wasn't like the dude came sliding in. Maybe he was upset because it wasn't a bang bang play and he felt like he was in there and he didn't need the tag, but you're still
a bang bang play.
Well, see, I felt like it was he slid in, but the throw was just like there was a little bit of I wouldn't say a delay, but there was a little bit of in between where I think he felt like he was there first, so he didn't need the tag. But you're always taught as an infielder, especially up the
Because he could
middle.
slide off the base.
Exactly. Put the tag on him. It doesn't matter because that umpire is supposed to be watching, is standing there watching him. So you put the tag on him no matter what. I remember I played third and second, and anytime the ball would come into I would just drop it right on him, whether it was on his head, on his back, I would drop it right on him. I wouldn't slap him with it. I wouldn't try to push him off the bag. I drop it right on him. And that's what it looked like happened. Maybe he took exception to the glove in the face or on top of the head. Maybe that's what it was, but it wasn't even like hey, let's talk about this. It was immediately he wanted a fight. It was immediately let's throw down. So it was maybe was there something like that happened before earlier in the game?
Well, that's what I was trying to, because the Cleveland and Chicago are in the same division, so they play each other a lot. They play each other 20 plus times. And I was trying to go back. There have been a couple instances, not necessarily Jose Ramirez, but Tim Anderson, kind of not pushing guys off base, but a guy will slide in and put his arm on second base, and Tim Anderson will move his arm off the base with his glove. And they've called people out by him doing that. Even after reviews, they call people out by Tim Anderson literally moving a guy's hand off the base and tagging him. So I don't know. Again, it's not necessarily Jose Ramirez that he's been doing this to, but Anderson has been doing it to other players. So, I don't know if they have any bad blood. I haven't heard anything, but he must have took offense, like you said, to the slap on the head, or maybe it was in the face. I thought it was a bang. I thought the ball got there right when Jose Ramirez was sliding, but maybe I have to watch it again. But the brawl that ensued was funny, and then it was funny the White Sox home announcers, Steve Stone in particular, who was a longtime Cubs color guy for Chip Carey, he even said the bullpen was coming out late. They're there, but they're coming out late.
Yeah, they ran. I don't know what happened to my camera. I'm working on it. You can still hear me.
Yeah,
they ran out. Yeah, it was kind of like, what is going on? Like, I don't know. It was very, very, very interesting to see the reason that whole deal. It was odd. There has to be some history. There has to be some history there of that. Because guys doing that, swiping your hand off or pushing your hand off, you're taught to keep. It's you climb up the bag. You know what I'm talking about when you climb up the bag. You got it's 3 points of contact at all times. You got your hand on the bag. You bring your foot up, and then you walk up the bag, so you're always touching it, or you even call time. And I felt like there was even time called, and I felt like the umpire put his hands up to call time. So maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was after the tag. I don't know. It was very, very, very there had to have been something that was like, all right, I'm ticked off. I'm gonna like Ramirez was like, I'm done. This is we're going right now. And they even squared up.
Yeah,
Did you see like they
they
even
let them square up. It was
it
like
was
a
like a
hockey
hockey
fight.
fight. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
they were like, all right, let's get out of the way.
Yeah, the umpires is like, all right, let's get out of here, and they squared up around each other, and it was like a hockey fight. So, and that's old school 70s, 80s baseball right there. When you see that, like it's
Yeah,
we haven't
not
seen.
not the first time the White Sox have. Remember the old Nolan Ryan and who did he just? I mean, put in a headlock and went to town on
Oh
Jose
yeah,
Ventura.
yes, yes,
That was crazy. And then
yeah.
Nolan Ryan just went back to pitching and is got blood all
And
over
he's
his uniform.
bloody. He's just,
Yeah.
oh god, that's hard nosed baseball, man. That's when they were smoking in the dugouts, drinking.
Yep.
They had, oh god. I'm not going to be like, hey, we need to bring that back because there's a reason why we don't do that anymore. But you know, it was entertaining as hell. It was entertaining as hell.
Yeah, sometimes you just need to let the guys get some frustration out.
I guess, but it looked like a hockey fight. It straight up
Yeah.
looked like a hockey fight.
Like they literally let them the umpire tried. He was just like, all right, none of this. And then Jose Ramirez kind of like did a swim move on the umpire and
Yeah, he
got him out
did.
of the way. And then they just squared up. They're like, all right, let's go.
Oh
Crazy.
yeah,
Crazy.
yeah,
Way
it was
better.
crazy.
That honestly, that fight was a little more entertaining than what we got last night, Matt, in the actual ring between Jake Paul and Nate Diaz. Caught a little bit of it, Matt. Saw the highlights. I was watching the 10th round kind of recap, and I was like, huh. You know, if you were somebody who didn't watch the fight and you just tuned in the 10th round, you think, man, Nate Diaz, I mean, this guy can't
Whooped
even
him.
see. He can't even
Yeah.
see out of his eyes, Matt. And then he would kind of, do the, what do they call that? Where you just kind of almost bear hug each other. So neither of them can
Yeah,
can
tie up.
get shots on. And then after that, Nate Diaz would like celebrate. I'm like, oh, that's a little weird. And I kept hearing the announcer again. I don't watch that much boxing, so you'll have to fill us in. He said the announcer kept saying, Jake Paul's not falling for Nate Diaz's stuff. He's not falling for it. He's not falling for it. It seems like Nate Diaz got the better of, or excuse me, Jake Paul got the better of Nate Diaz, judging by Diaz's face. But it ended in a 10th round. Nobody got knocked out or nothing like that. Jake Paul won by unanimous decision. Tell us why, man.
So boxing is very, very so Nate Diaz, that was a typical Nate Diaz fight. I've been watching MMA and Nate Diaz for a long time. One of my favorite fighters, one of my favorite people. The Diaz brothers are one of my favorite people in the world. I love watching those guys fight. Now, when it comes to boxing, and the reason why there's a lot of people that are saying, and I'll get to what Nate Diaz was doing in that fight to get what he wanted at the end. They're we understand that they both made a ton of money in this fight. So boxing is they judge those fights by pressure. They judge those fights by defense. They judge those fights by moving around. They judge those fights a lot by scoring. Scoring could be a jab. Scoring could be an uppercut. Scoring could be moving, getting out of the way, and things like that. There's a lot of ways that those judges look at things, and for to be honest, some of those judges shouldn't even be sitting there judging those fights. Now, this wasn't a big important title fight or anything like that. Jake Paul won that fight on the scoring card as far as scoring, punches, jabs. And like you said, if you look at the one fighter, you look at the other guy, you can tell who won because Diaz looked like he got beat up. Diaz always looks like that. And what's funny about Diaz is that when he starts getting going, if you look at any of his previous UFC fights, to get Diaz going, he needs to get bloodied up. He needs to get beat up to him to really start going. And that was the first fight that I've seen Nate Diaz fight in a long time where he wasn't busted up. He's got so much scar tissue and everything around his face that it's going to balloon up immediately and it's going to cut. It's going to, there's a lot of things that can happen. So he looks like he gets his ass kicked when in reality, he's doing just fine. There was a spot where Nate did go down. He did stumble from a punch from Jake Paul. But what Nate Diaz did in that fight is what he does in every single fight. He wears the guy down. He tries to take him into deep waters. In an MMA fight, rounds are 5 minutes. In boxing, they're 3 minutes. And it gets to a situation where he was trying to drag those guys off, drag this guy into deeper water and score a knockdown or beat him later in the round. Nate Diaz wasn't trying to win that fight via scoring or via getting the best of the punches. And then what had happened, and he started to troll him. He started to clown him, so to speak. There was times where Jake would punch him in the face, and then Nate would act like he's knocked out, but he's not, and he'd come back and he'd start going. We saw that a couple times. And there was a time where he even tried to he could have taken him down in one round. He put him in a guillotine choke, which is an MMA move in the 9th round, that when there was like 15, 17 seconds, and he legit had Jake Paul in a guillotine choke and was choking him. So what Nate did is he showed Jake Paul that he's in control of that fight, or he's in control of what he can do to Jake at any time that he wanted to. And what that did is it got Jake in his head to be like, I can hang with this guy. And it got Nate and Jake to agree in principle. They agreed. I'm not going to say that there's anything signed for an MMA fight, $10 million for an MMA fight in PFL. We'll see if that happens. But I felt the whole time Nate was doing that. This guy's a triathlon. The Diaz brothers are triathlon athletes. They can go forever and ever and ever. And Nate drug him into that deep water and did what he did to him just to get this MMA fight to where I think Nate is going to destroy this guy. And really, he made fun of Jake Paul last night. That whole fight was going out there to make fun of Jake Paul and to show Jake Paul, look, dude, you can hit me with these little jabs and score, but I'm in control of this fight the entire time. Did Nate lose? Did he look like he lost? Yes. But at the same time, what he did is he got an MMA fight and he showed Jake Paul he's in control the entire time, which was, I felt like what he was going to do, what he was going to do when he started this whole fight. I've watched going up into the fight. I've watched the press conference and stuff like that. Nate was just drawing him in and showed him, hey, this was the first fight that Jake Paul was in. Yeah, he lost to Tyson Fury, who's a boxer. And then that Anderson Silva, you can look at, one of the greatest strikers of all time, an MMA striker of all time. He won that fight. But this fight was different. Nate Diaz is different cat in his point of his career right now. He's a different dude. And that was just, it could make Jake Paul better, but I think overall Nate did what he went out to do, and that was to get that MMA fight. $10 million. Nate's going to make a lot of money off Jake Paul.
There you go. So if you missed it, here's kind of the end of the fight, and you see Nate Diaz's face right there. So thanks for clearing that up. To be honest with you, man, the only reason I tuned in is because you know who is part of Jake Paul's company now, the Cavender twins. So what is it? Better, BETR, and they do a little podcast for Better too, and they endorse his their energy drink as well. So I think that's what Jake Paul's holding up right there. At the end of that match. So
and then real quick at the end of this, Nick Diaz, who is Nate Diaz's brother, got involved and said, hey, I want to fight. And Nick Diaz is one of the greatest MMA fighters, one of the greatest combat sports fighters of all time. Put Strikeforce on the map. The things that he's done in fighting are huge. So the fact that he came out and said, and one thing too, both of these brothers, I feel that the reason why I relate to them so much is because they have social anxiety just like I do. They don't like to be there, but they put themselves in those positions because that's what they do. Nick Diaz is going to fight at some point, and we're looking at, he might fight a Logan Paul. Again, these are entertainment. These are entertaining, and it's funny. It's fun to watch these guys. So that's all it is. But so we did get that at the end. That could be pretty cool too going forward.
Do you ever see a scenario where we can get a like a tag team event where brothers versus brothers?
See, in my opinion, I think I'm not gonna say they screwed it up, but they could have had that tonight or last night. You could have had Nick Diaz fighting Logan Paul, although Logan Paul was at SummerSlam, because Logan Paul was also a WWE wrestler. So he was at SummerSlam, which was a big event last night, and he actually flew from Detroit to Dallas to be there, still wearing his SummerSlam outfit. So there is a opportunity to have brother versus brother, and big brother versus big brother, little brother versus little brother again, in on the same card. And if they did that, Mike, man, in my opinion, that would be one of the greatest combat sports spectacles of all time to get those two. They can load that card up and make a buttload of money, lot of money.
And then have the Cavender twins fight whatever the Olsen twins. I don't know.
The Olsen twins. Did you hear the Cavender twins they're WWE bound too? They signed contracts with WWE.
Yeah, they're WWE, and they are part of Logan and Jake Paul's company. So
yep.
There you go.
So and the Cavender twins, or
they can walk. They can be the ring girls where they walk and hold the round. Do they still do that? By the way,
they do. They do. It's crazy in this climate that they do, but they do.
I was gonna say, yeah. Like you don't need Vanna White to push the TVs anymore on Wheel of Fortune, but she still does it.
She's still there.
You don't need it, but you still got her.
Yeah. It was the Cavender twins, man. I caught them on Instagram the other day. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's crazy. It's unfair. It's great. And by the way, they have two other sisters, by the way, if you're interested.
And their mother.
I was gonna say, and their mom saying. A lot on their social media as well. So
I'm just saying.
they have very good genes in that family, we'll say. Very good genes.
We're not talking Wrangler.
No. They never wear pants.
We better stop it. We're gonna get canceled.
They wear clothes, but they yeah. All right, we'll stop. We will we can have I could probably fill a whole hour just talking about Cavender twins, by the way.
Oh yeah.
But if you are into fitness and stuff like that, they post and health and eating right and stuff like that, you might want to go check them out because they do post a lot of what they eat, how they prepare food, and a lot of their workout videos. So if you are a fitness nut, like I'm assuming they are, obviously they post videos at like 5 a.m. and they're running, a couple miles in the morning. They're in the gym at 7 a.m. So if you are into that, they are good to watch for that. Otherwise, if you're like me, you just watch them for entertainment purposes.
That's why I watch.
Yeah,
very entertaining.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well, that's gonna do it for us here on the Wheelhouse on Elevation 5280 Sports and Lifestyle. Don't forget, NFL training camp is. Well, it's pretty much over as we're entering preseason. We had our first preseason game the other night, the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio. And
I didn't even watch that.
I was going to say, did Cleveland even win that game?
I don't even remember.
Yeah.
I was trying to watch it. I was trying to come home, making a point to watch it, but I had too much going on and I just forgot about it. And
I honestly forgot that games were on.
Yeah. And I usually forget about that game. Unless the Packers or the Broncos are playing in it, and that didn't happen. So I almost said the Pack, but Aaron Rodgers, he's an X number 8. I don't know who number 8 is.
Did you see? So here, I just pulled this up, and it says Jose Ramirez said, "quote Tim Anderson has disrespected the game for a while." So he did something.
See,
so he did something.
So he had receipts then. Ramirez had receipts, and he was cashing them in, or he was sick of it. Look, I understand the codes, the secret codes in baseball. Like there's a code, a coach's code. Nathaniel Hackett that brought up some coach's code. Number one, I don't know if Nathaniel Hackett is a part of that group that gets code.
Does he earn the code? Does he have the code?
I don't think there's nothing that he's done.
I'm assuming he just has the code by association with Aaron Rodgers. That's the only reason I can see him even being part of the code is through Aaron Rodgers.
Right. Aaron Rodgers has the code more than Hackett does. Yeah, I agree. So him saying all that mumbo jumbo was kind of interesting to me, but I don't know where that code and if there's a code there in baseball, like. How do you feel about? Because that's what it feels like. Ramirez is saying is that there's because if he's swiped off the arm in the past, if he's done stuff like that in the past, to me, you gotta be prepared for that, right? Like you gotta come in and be prepared for the dude to swipe off your hand, or make sure you put your leg down there on the bottom. So, like going outlaw justice, frontier justice on him, I don't know. From an entertaining perspective, it was entertaining, But as far as like longevity and and having being around in there, I don't know if that mindset is a good one for Ramirez to take up.
So I didn't hear any suspensions or fines or anything like that. So maybe that'll be coming down the pike here in a minute, but I don't know. By the way, the Browns won that game 21-16. I don't know if you saw your buddy Aaron Rodgers on the sidelines. Not only looked stoned as he normally does, but they caught him. He must have saw the cameras or something, because he was giving everyone the bunny ears too.
Oh man, he's so funny, isn't he? He's such a silly guy. And I guess he even called that play that Wilson threw that touchdown pass on. So like, do we even need Hackett at this point? This is what I'm saying. Hackett's going to get another coaching job. If Rodgers has a good season, Hackett's going to get another fresh coaching job. And the dude's horrible. The dude is not a good NFL football freaking coach. I don't care how many times Aaron Rodgers is going to go up there and say, he's my buddy, I like him, he makes everybody happy. He's not a good football coach.
Who's better or worse, Josh McDaniels or Nathaniel Hackett?
Josh McDaniels is better, hands down, above. There's not even a question. Josh McDaniels can coach.
Okay, let me specify that. In Denver, who's better?
I would say Josh still. I would still go Josh.
He at least made it, a season and a half, right?
They were 6-0. Yeah, they were 6-0 at one point. He's screaming, the little man screaming on the field.
Job.
You know, after they beat the Patriots, remember when they beat the Patriots? He was going ape out there, going crazy. And, you know, I think it's McDaniels. McDaniels just has a people problem. Hackett, on the one hand, doesn't have a people problem, right? Hackett's a great person, a people person. He's just a crappy football coach. There's nothing wrong with that. But just don't act like you're a part of this freaking club where a guy who's turned around a franchise, turned around a city, won a Super Bowl, says that you did pretty crap. If it was me, Mike, I would come up there, you know, when a guy like that says that, somebody like me has to listen, and I got to get better. That's how I would have took that. It's free criticism. That's how I would have took it. I mean, all criticism is pretty much free, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Hackett looks like crap in all this, and it's not his fault. It's Rodgers' fault, but I'm sure we'll get into that some other time.
Yeah. Yeah, we have week 5 for Denver Broncos circled, because that is when the New York Jets come to town. So I'm sure there will be a lot of storylines surrounding that game. NFL regular season getting closer and closer. So we'll have a ton to talk about. Fantasy football, once again, will be a huge topic of discussion. So we will get into all of that here in a couple of weeks. By the way, Matt, just finished Iron Man 3 in my run through all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe in timeline order, by the way. Nice. So that's why I'm wearing my Thanos gauntlet shirt. I don't know if you can kind of see it, and the glove is made up of all the characters. So you can see Rocket right here. You can see him on there. So there you go. Nice. And then you can see the Black Widow logo right here.
My boys and I have started watching the Guardians. We watched number 1 because I don't think they've seen 1 or 2. Those are pretty good freaking movies. I'm enjoying, and we were talking about on chat. By the way. Yes. And we were chatting the other day about how good Iron Man was. Like, I enjoyed part 2. Part 3 was a little weird, but I still enjoyed it. You know, it's. Yeah. Those are good movies.
And yeah, so I'm done with Iron Man 3. So we are on to, I think, Thor number 2 is the next one on the docket.
Which one's that one called? What's that one called? Thor.
Let me see, because the first one is actually called Dark World, I want to say. The first Thor. That's when Loki figures out he's an ice giant. Yeah. And he was stolen. Yeah, I remember all number
that.
2, Thor, the first Thor is just called Thor. Thor number 2 is called Dark World, so I had that confused.
Yep.
So, and then have you seen the first Captain America, the first Avenger? Really good, by the way.
That one's a really good one. I agree with that one. And Tommy Lee Jones is in it.
Ones are really good.
They're really good. I enjoyed those ones.
Who was in it? Who'd you say?
Tommy Lee Jones. Tommy Lee Jones is in the first one.
Yeah, Two-Face. Forgot about him.
Yep, Tommy Lee Jones is in it, and then the Lord Elrond from I always call him by his, or Agent Smith is in it too. You know, I call him by his name. I don't know his actor name, but he's a great villain. You know what I'm talking about?
White hair dude, the blonde dude.
Yeah, he was. So he was. Oh gosh, what do they call that in Captain American 1? The villain with the red. He turns in.
Red Skull. Yeah,
Red Skull. Yes, Red Skull.
Yeah.
He's that guy. That guy's great, phenomenal actor. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. And you know who actually took over that role in the Avengers movies when they go have to sacrifice themselves for one of the stones? Remember, he's in charge of the planet because he got banished there.
Yeah.
You know who took over that role as Red Skull, by the way? Ross Marquand, who played Aaron in The Walking Dead.
Okay.
So little factoid. It all comes back to The Walking Dead.
It's a good character. Good character.
Yeah. So the guy I'm thinking of, have you ever watched Band of Brothers?
I've not watched it fully, no.
Okay, well this guy was in Band of Brothers. He was in the first Captain America, and I forgot Stanley Tucci was in the first Captain America.
Yeah.
By the way, Neil McDonough. He's in a lot of stuff. He's in The Rundown, I think, with The Rock, or one of those early Rock movies. He had The Rundown, and he had Walking Tall.
I think
he was in Walking Tall.
Was he in Walking Tall? No, yeah, he was in Walking Tall. He wasn't. He was the drug dealer guy, or the main.
Yeah, the main villain.
The main drug. Yeah. He's good. He's in a lot of. He's been in Yellowstone. Yeah, he's been in Yellowstone, Justified, a lot of the shows I used to watch. I think he was even in Sons of Anarchy too for a little bit.
But he's in Band of Brothers also. He's in a lot of like the wartime. Here's his picture, by the way, Neil McDonough. That guy.
Yeah. And do you remember the baseball movie he was in? I think it was. Oh man. Was it Little Big League? No. Was it? He got stuck in the cage. Remember the bat? Like he was like a goofy guy. He was kind of he'd have. Or is he a pitcher?
Shoot, he was in Angels in the Outfield. He was a
Angels
pitcher.
in the Outfield. Yeah. Yes, he was a pitcher.
He had the wind up. He's like, and he sets again.
Yeah, and he goes. Yeah, he sits there and goes, and he's got the big wad of gum in his mouth.
Yeah,
that was a tremendous character.
Yeah, I forgot he was in that, but now that you said that, I was, oh my god, Angels in the Outfield. Yep.
So, I love that character because I remember this. He'd go.
Yeah, he sets again.
Sets again. And he's got the big wad of gum. And he's always on the bench. He's got the big wad of gum. And then he comes out on the out and he's just doing this. He looks like, come on. That's a great movie. Great movie.
So every year, one of my cousins in Chicago does a this will be the third annual thing of it. So my cousin Brian, my cousin Kate's husband, who passed away a couple years ago from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. She's doing this will be the third year of an annual Cubs game. He was a huge Cubs fan, and so I went last year, gonna go again this year. Guess what jersey I'm gonna wear to this Cubs game? And it was hard for me to buy any Cubs merchandise, by the way. But guess which Cubs jersey that I'm going to be wearing?
Oh man, Kerry Wood jersey?
No, Henry Rowan Gardner.
Yes,
Rookie of the Year. So that's what jersey I got. I'm gonna wear. Here's Neil McDonough and Angels in the Outfield. By the way, there you go.
Yes. That's a tremendous character. That's gonna be a sick jersey.
I already got it. Jersey. So yeah,
Rosenbach. I've always wanted to get a Conway jersey from from Mighty Ducks.
The old one with like the goofy duck on it, like the bright green.
The bright green and blue, I think it is. It's blue, yeah. I always wanted one of those jerseys.
Yep. Quack, 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 Mr. Ducksworth.
Quack, quack. But yeah, man,
classics.
And wasn't who was the main pitcher in that?
It was Tony Danza, wasn't it?
No, that was Angels in the Outfield.
Oh, I thought that's what you were talking about. The main pitcher was man, I can see his face.
It's not. I want to say Nick Nolte or something like that, but it's not him. It's God, what is his name?
Gary Busey.
Gary Busey, yes. Yeah. I love Gary Busey. He was in some great movies too. Great
and they had the guy who locked himself in the cage.
Yes, and he's shaking.
Yeah,
That dude. Let me out. He's the pitching coach, right? Wasn't he the pitching coach?
Yeah, he's the pitching coach. He was
He
in.
was
He's
in,
been in a lot of stuff too.
He was in City Slickers.
Daniel Stern. Yeah, he was
Daniel
in.
Stern.
He was in home. He was in the Home Alone movies.
The Home Alone movies. He was.
Harry.
Harry.
Yep. Yeah. So funny stuff.
I could see him with the iron mark on his face.
Yeah. So he got stuck in the cage in the dugout, and then he got stuck in between the two doors in the hotel.
Yep.
He's like, "Hey, little help now."
Little help, man.
Great. Yeah, help.
Great movies, man.
Yeah,
great movies. And he was always.
The manager could never say Rowan Gardner's name. He'd always say something different every time. He's like Rosenbagen. And it'd be something different every time. So.
Yep. And then he's like, hey, get go now, kid. He's spitting stuff out. Oh,
he always had tobacco, or was it gum? I think it was tobacco.
I think it was tobacco. I think he loaded up on the Red Man. And there was even one time where he got all dizzy, like he's sitting there and I gotta go watch. We gotta go watch these movies now.
Yeah,
I gotta go watch these movies now.
Here you go. Put these in order, by the way, before we get out of here. Put these baseball movies in order. Major League, Rookie of the Year, Angels in the Outfield.
Right there.
Like that? Yeah,
Major League one.
Yeah.
Major League's number one. Angels in the well, you know what? I'll put Angels in the Outfield number 2. Because that one got me. That movie, because Christopher Lloyd was a great angel. And like that one got me as a kid, I think. And then
get him out the curveball, Ricky. Give him the heater.
Give him the heater. I told it was funny because I got tryouts the other day and some kid walked up on the putting green with the cutoff shirt. And I told him, I said, we wear sleeves and caps at this level, son. He looked at me.
Sleeves at this level, son.
Yeah.
He looked at me all weird. I'm like, hey, where's your shirt? Oh, it's in the car.
Just a bit outside.
There you go. Yeah, and it was funny. I was listening to I think it was the This Is Important podcast, by the way, with the Workaholics crew, and they were talking about Major League, and I was like yelling at my speakers, like, because they couldn't figure out who the broadcaster was in Major League. They thought it was just an actor. I was like, no, it is famous Milwaukee Brewers broadcaster, and they just could not figure it out. And then they finally did, and I was like, yes, finally they got it. And finally, he's terrific in those movies.
Well, he's great because I think that people think he's an actor, because he's drinking. And like he's like, a real broadcaster would never do that. Well, I don't know about that. Some of those guys, they used to throw him down, especially if the team sucked. Like
Bob Uecker was, classic baseball voice, by the way, too.
Just a bit outside.
He's like, this game sponsored by, to hell with it. I can't find it.
He's so good.
Nobody's listening anyway.
I could see how everybody could think he's an actor, though.
Yeah. Bob Uecker, great. Just passed away.
That's so funny.
A few years back. So it was classic. Yeah, Major League's got to be number 1 for me, by the way. And we always quote him too. None of this Olay stuff.
Olays, Dorn.
Yeah.
And like you can put Bull Durham up there, Bull Durham, but
Field of Dreams, they're up there, but
Field of Dreams are up there. Major League's the best. There's there's great actors.
I was gonna say the cast is just incredible. A lot of people forget, a young Charlie Sheen, a young Tom Berenger, by the way.
I love one of my favorite actors of all time.
Yeah, the Allstate dude is Pedro Serrano, for God's sakes.
Right, Wesley Snipes is in there. Willie Mays Hayes, the pitcher. Oh God, I can't remember his name. You telling me Jesus Christ can't hit a curveball? I
say F you, Joe Boo.
F you up your butt, Joe Boo. and then even Dorn. Dorn is a tremendous. Like what's his real name? It's skipping me. It's off. Boynton wasn't it? Or no, that's not him.
Yeah, Corbin Burnson.
Yes, I was right then. Yeah, so
Rene Russo, by the way.
Yes, Rene Russo. Oh, fire. And Quaid, wasn't Dennis Quaid in that movie? Or no, he was in part 2.
No, he was in The Rookie. He was in a baseball movie, The Rookie. Remember where he was the high school baseball coach who went back to pitch? That was a good movie too, by the way.
I'm talking about Uncle Eddie Quaid. Randy
Oh,
Quaid.
from Vacation movies.
Yeah. Was he in the first one or the second one?
I'm not seeing him on this
I think
list.
it was the first one. It was the first one. Randy Quaid.
I'm
I feel
looking
like
at
he was.
I'm looking at the first one's cast. I don't see him on here.
Maybe it was the second one. Oh, and
But
then,
yeah.
and then you got the groundskeepers crew
Yeah.
when they're cleaning up home base. Oh, that's
They-
tremendous.
They still suck. Yeah.
There's yeah.
Yeah,
Such a
we
great
could
movie.
probably have a whole show on baseball sports movies anyway. So
Oh, for
but
sure.
we are-
should do that one day.
yeah, we could have did it in one of these off weeks when there's no football, no really baseball to talk about. So maybe so. By the way,
Oh, it was.
did you
He was
catch?
in Major League too. Yeah.
Okay.
Randy Quaid.
By the way, did you catch Randall Grichuk's first game as a Los Angeles Angel?
I did.
Yeah.
He hits a bomb, and I'm like, yeah, I guess we're gonna have to watch the Angels now. You know, since the Rockies got all these pitching arms, I think we can watch the Angels now.
It is funny that there was so much talk about the Angels trading Shohei Ohtani, and the Rockies were mentioned in those trade talks for some godly reason. And then Angels just go crazy and bring in everybody. So they are trying to at least do something with the MVP talent that they have.
They're trying to do something, which is good.
Yeah,
to see.
they got the White Sox ace. They got Lucas Giolito from the White Sox. They bring in obviously CJ Cron, Randall Grichuk from the Rockies, and yeah, they just added so many pieces to. They added Mike Moustakas a few months ago when right after the Angels Rockies game, he literally walked across the locker room and said, "All right, I guess I'm flying out with you guys." So the Los Angeles Rockies of Anaheim will be interesting to watch here coming up soon. Texas Rangers got a hell of a lot better as they brought in Max Scherzer. So the Houston Astros bring back that was a strange one to me, Matt, because I was like, Max Scherzer got traded, and then literally a couple days later, Verlander got traded back to Houston. So I don't know what the Mets are doing, but they were just like, we're done.
Yeah. That's it. I think the Mets just threw the towel in and said that's a wrap. Poor Mets.
Crazy.
You hate to see it.
Yeah, after just signing those guys, that was kind of crazy to see. But
It's good that they just gave up. They're like, we're done.
Yeah. So Verlander, you can go back to Houston, and you can go to Texas as well, Scherzer, but to the other one.
To the other one.
Yeah, the Rangers. Rangers are in first place, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. It'll be a fight within Texas, probably for the AL West. If the Angels, if they have anything to do with it, they're all three in the same division, so it's going to be a exciting race to the finish. And luckily, there's 2 wild cards, so you could potentially see 3 teams in one division make the playoffs.
Yeah,
So
that's
we'll
crazy.
see what happens. That's that they call it the old Wild West, though.
Wild West.
Yeah, the West and the NL is just one team, so it's not really wild. Yeah, is all we have to say about that. But that's going to do it for us here on the Wheelhouse. Thank you for tuning in, and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel as well at 5280 Sports Radio. And once again, like all of these socials on Facebook, Elevation 5280 Sports and Lifestyle. On X, go and give it to you. Twitter at 5280 Sports Radio, and on Instagram as well, Elevation 5280 Radio. Well, that's going to do it for us here. Catch us next week. We should hopefully, potentially have Nick Ferguson on to talk not only Broncos training camp, but also training camp as general as we get gearing towards the NFL regular season, which we're all excited for. I'm already ready for basketball to start again, man. I don't know.
Dude, me too, man. Me too. Vlatko Konkar just tore his ACL. That sucks. But like, I'm ready for I'm ready for the NBA too, bud. I'm right there.
I'm waiting for the schedule to drop. So
me too.
Yeah, 'cause I'm going to that number 1 game. I'm going to that first home game.
Oh, that's good. Are they doing the rings there that night?
They should. Yeah, they usually.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
going to raise the banner.
They'll raise the banner. Yes.
So,
I can't wait either.
There you go. But that's going to do it for us here. Thank you for tuning in. Once again, like and follow all of our socials. Go to e5280sports.com for all the other bonus content. All the past videos, all the past audio is on there. Between the Lines with Kim Becker is always on the front page as well. Every week giving you the latest in Colorado sports as well. Don't forget, Shooting the Schmidt with Jonathan Smith. He's just audio. So all of his audio stuff is on the website as well. And we'll get some more articles and stuff up to go along with all of those media platforms. So thank you once again for interacting with us, tuning in. We will see you next week.